Hello, everyone. Welcome back. Welcome to our show. I am Colleen O'Brien. This is Keryn Lee, or I guess maybe it's on that side, depending on which way it is. Together, we are the two Unholy Healers. We're here every fortnight with a live stream. And today's topic is money and spirituality. Because a lot of healers have money issues. A lot of spiritual people have some really wonky concepts of how money is or isn't supposed to show up in their lives. And this is a really juicy topic. We could probably talk for hours about this, but we're not. We're probably going to try and keep it to about 20 minutes. So for those of you who are here joining us on the live stream, thank you so much for being there. For those of you who are watching the replay, thank you so much. We do read all of your comments. And yeah, so let's dive right in. So Keryn, where do you want to go with this one? Where do you want to start?
Yeah, let's start with your first comment about money and spirituality and healers and that. As you know, I just did a class last night with a group of people, probably not all healers, but some of them were working either as healers or in sort of service-based industries. And there were a couple of comments made last night, but also throughout my work, the last probably 12, 13, 14 years, working with healers and tarot readers and psychics and all of that, I've seen this to the deepest level, just how much people in that spiritual community really don't value their services, don't charge enough in general, and are dynamically rejecting money. And it's almost like there's this real delineation between the business world and the healing spiritual world. And it doesn't have to be like that. There is a way to receive as much as we possibly want to, because we are infinite beings. Therefore, everything is available to all of us. So there is a way to do that and blend that with, let's call it the business side of our business, but without having to get drawn into some of the, let's call it drama and negativity and what you called earlier the prosperity propaganda, which we'll talk about in a minute. We don't have to get caught up in that. There is a way to find a balance, but I'll admit it's challenging. But I have found that money is a wonderful tool for self-awareness. If we use money as a way to look at what's happening in our lives, what is my relationship to money? How am I handling it? Am I blocked? You know what I mean? We can use that as a tool for sort of personal development and look at what's happening in various areas of our lives. It's all really about receiving. So if we can change that, we have access to unlimited possibilities, and also that includes money, of course.
Which sounds great, right? But as you said, like a lot of times it's like people will try this method or buy this class or do this thing, and they still don't get the results that they were hoping for or are ever going to be satisfied with. And you had mentioned the word balance, and that was something that had come to me that, money and spirituality, they don't really seem to be on the same level, right? To me, at least from what we see in my own life with people that I know, people in the media, it seems like if you've got a lot of money, you're not very spiritual. Or the opposite is true. If you're really spiritual, at least you don't make a big deal about how much money you have, right? Or there are, because, you could talk about organized religions and other people who may be talking about spirituality, who may actually have a lot of money, but are they really spiritual when you actually, look at what underneath the surface? But rarely do you see lots of money, lots of spirituality. I mean, you can get no money and no spirituality. And so this sort of led me to believe, or to question, is being spiritual a luxury? Meaning, do you have to have a certain amount of money to be able to afford to even explore your own spirituality? Because if you're still living at the survival level, living hand to mouth, living paycheck to paycheck, a lot of this prosperity propaganda is very enticing and alluring because it makes a lot of promises that, like, hey, you're working hard for money and it doesn't have to be that way. And then they'll take advantage. There are a lot of grifters out there that will take advantage of the little money you do have so that they can be rich, and you may or may not be rich based on whatever they're teaching you. But in order to even be able to have the means, the time to explore spirituality, you do have to have a certain amount of money, whether that's to pay for the class, whether that's just to be able to relax, right? To not have to be worried about money so much, to even just really be neutral and meditate, or even go to church if you're into organized religion and stuff like that. Because I think a lot of this prosperity propaganda also comes out of organized religion as well. Because when I first searched for money and spirituality, some of the top results were books that were quoting scripture.
Yeah.
So, if anybody's here who is Christian or is expecting a Bible-centered conversation here, sorry, you're going to be out of luck.
Well, let me jump in with what you've just said, because when you're talking about that imbalance and that, and can someone actually have, or what you said about needing some level of prosperity to actually step into spirituality. I agree to that to some extent. However, if we peel it back to even prior to that, let's say, if we start with self-awareness, then we have access to both. We can have access to money and we can have access to spirituality. And commonly, up until this point, I think we have, like you said, we have some level of resources and abundance available to us, which allows us to develop self-awareness and spirituality. But Buddha just went and sat under a tree. Christ walked in the desert. All the stories. We know all the stories. So money wasn't necessarily required. It's kind of confusing, though, because we do need money to survive in this reality to some extent, unless you're living in the African forests or something like that. In general, if we live in this reality, we need money to survive. And most people have that at a basic level to some extent, food, shelter, if you're living in the Western world. And I know that's a generality, but most people have access to it in some way. So once our basic survival needs are taken care of, then we have access to that higher level of consciousness. And I think in the psychology world, there's even that, is it Maslow's pyramid?
I hate Maslow's pyramid of needs. I hate
it. I'm glad I brought it up then.
I think it's total BS. I mean, we can discuss it. I understand, but I don't think it holds water. But please continue.
Yeah. So do you think that we need some basic level of, no, actually, you know what? Perhaps we don't. We do need, it appears that we need some level of wealth to achieve spirituality, because we're looking at it from this reality, which is all about buying the next book or buying the next course. But if we didn't have that, who's to say, like the homeless guy in the street doesn't have a good level of spiritual awareness, or you know what I mean, or couldn't attain that if he wanted to, without having to have any more than what he has. Do you know what I mean? Like, I guess the point I'm trying to make is, do we actually need anything to have that spiritual awareness?
Well, and I think awareness is the key there, right? Like, so much of what we've been taught in society is that, you need certain things.
Yeah.
So can you just be happy wherever you are with whatever circumstances you have? Can you be grateful with whatever it is that you have? So there's there may be something to that. Now, I don't necessarily want to put myself in dire straits to be able to prove that, right or wrong.
Absolutely.
Uh,
Let's not go there.
yeah. So there may absolutely be something to that, because when I do intuitively tune in, because there's a lot of doom and gloom going on here with oh my god, prices are going to go up, and do I need to start like hoarding food or whatever? And every time I intuitively go into it, it's like, no, Colleen, you're always going to be provided for.
Yeah.
And it's to trust that, and it just there's such a peace to that when I feel that. I also don't want to be taking those actions out of fear as well.
Yeah.
So and I think this dovetails into, I want to call it a vision, except there was no visual stimulus that went with it, of eventually human consciousness will evolve to the point where money will become obsolete. We will no longer need that as a tool of exchange. But that's not going to happen for several more centuries. So it doesn't really help me right now in this lifetime where I have to deal with the reality, as you said, that we were looking at the money and spirituality issue, if you will, or topic from the perspective of where we are now in this 3D space.
Yeah. Yeah. And, as an example, on the other end of the scale, I look at Gary Douglas from Access Consciousness as an example of someone who is very conscious and aware, but also has a great level of wealth and has created that wealth using his awareness of now, people might look at that from the outside and think that wealth is a bit garish, or, you should be more humble or whatever. And he's really not. He just doesn't care. The way he looks at it is he's an infinite being and he'll have whatever he wants to have. But he does choose from a place of awareness. So that gave me, I guess, the perspective that we all have the ability to do that. If we could choose that, we could choose to have that level of awareness. We could choose to have that level of abundance. So I just see that as an example, not right or wrong, just a potential or a possibility of looking at from the other end of the scale. You know what I mean?
Yes, I love that that's an example, because I'm immediately, I don't know if you can read my face, this is why I don't play poker, so judgmental when you bring up this particular individual and his wealth. But it reminds me of, there are other public figures who, get a lot of attention because of the amount of wealth that they have. And we all have negative judgments about the way that they operate and what they choose or don't choose. So there is value in the example, right? Like, even if it's just, that's not my favorite, I'm not going to choose that for me, that's not how I want to do it. Or as an inspiration, right? Be like, wow, like this. And that's where I think stealth wealth comes in, because I think a lot of the people who do embody money and spirituality, or even just neutrality, or just living a good life and just being a good human being, we don't hear about them. They don't get a lot of press. They don't tout their wealth. They don't make a big deal about it. They're just quietly going about life, having plenty, being generous, and they don't make a whole lot of noise.
Exactly. And I think all of these examples give us the opportunity to look at, is that what wealth looks like for me? Or like you said before, this is a potential or a possibility, but what does it look like for each of us? What does wealth mean to us, and what would we like it to look like? Because really, it's just having all the resources that we need, and the more resources we have access to, the more we're actually able to contribute and give back and support others, and buy up all the rainforests and stuff like that. The more we can do if we're actually willing to receive that level of wealth. So why is it that so many healers aren't doing that? It's like they're sitting back, and I'm using healers generally, but sitting back and struggling, many of them, just to support themselves with their own healing businesses. Do you know what I mean? It's
Yeah,
really
yeah,
interesting.
because it is chronic, and we did do an episode in season 1,
Mm.
called "The Curse of the Poor Healer."
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think I did check the URL for our PDF. It doesn't work anymore because I did not renew that that domain name.
Ah,
But if you are watching this and go back to watch that, you can write us at 2unholyhealers@gmail.com. We'll get you a copy of that, no problem.
yeah.
So yeah, like what is it about healers? Like, is it like a badge of honor? Is it because a lot of healers work on themselves a lot,
Yeah.
and what is keeping so many of them so in that struggle?
You know, I don't have a complete answer for that, but I have a couple of layers just from having worked on this a lot myself and with other people. One of those is the programming, what we call the unfulfilled savior. So a lot of healers just want to fix, heal, save everybody. They have these big hearts and see this potential for other people, for humanity, and end up investing too much in trying to save everyone instead of actually taking care of themselves first. So there's an imbalance there. The other is it's just a lack of receiving. And what I think happens here sometimes is because they're super aware of energy, of people, and stuff like that, they kind of shut themselves down a little bit so that they're not picking up too much. They're not at the mercy of the elements, let's say. But what they do is they shut down their energy, which anytime we block our energy in any way, then we're not actually receiving what comes in. Now, if we're fully open to receiving everything, it doesn't mean we have to keep it. We can just acknowledge it, say, yeah, no, that's not working for me, let it go. But anytime we've got those walls and barriers up, we block our receiving. And that's just they're two of the major areas that I've sort of seen with people.
Hmm. Yeah, and the question that comes to my mind as you were saying that is like, what about the emotion, about that feeling of wealth, right? Because even if that is one way to manifest, right? Like, what does it feel like to really embody what already having the thing that you would like to have?
Mm.
And so, what is it about having money, being wealthy, and how interesting that we shifted from money to wealth in our
Yeah.
some people will argue those are two like two different things, or
Yeah.
one encompasses the other if you want to do the Venn diagram. But
Yeah.
what is it about wealth that feels wrong to healers?
Mm. Great question. So all the healers watching can just kind of tune into that and just let that resonate for a minute and see what comes up, because yeah, it's a great question
Yeah,
that I don't
yeah.
have an answer for.
I don't either, but that was so I hate the word home play, but that is what, but yeah. So that's your assignment. Work on that. Why does wealth feel wrong to you?
Yeah.
And come back to us. Let us know in the
Yeah.
comments how that worked. What insights did you get? What tools did you use? Yeah. And perhaps just even watching this was a blessing to you. And let us know how much money you received after you watch this, like it's some sort of
Yeah.
secret letter thing.
Yes. Well, last night, as you know, I did a money class, Melt Your Money Blocks. And we just spent an hour just clearing a whole lot of stuff that was coming up for people around money. And yeah, so I just want to mention as well that the people watching this today, I haven't put it on my website yet because I'm just waiting for the recording to come through. But within the next day or two, there'll be something on my website where you can get that class for free. So just, check my website when you watch this. Livestream.
Exactly. And there's a link in the comments to Keryn's website as well. How generous of you in that holiday spirit of gifting. You're a healer who is gifting so that others may be able to benefit from your skills, your tools, and also be prosperous. This is not prosperity propaganda. This is the real deal, guys.
Yeah, this was just sharing because as we got closer to Christmas holiday season, you just start to feel the energy shifting around you. You start to feel people getting a bit tenser, a bit denser, the energy getting a bit denser. And I just thought, hey, let's just get in and blast a whole lot of that energy. And we had a really good group on last night, so that was lots of fun. So yeah, definitely would love to share that with everyone. And we should mention also, we will not have a podcast in a fortnight, which will be over the Christmas weekend, or
it's midweek. Yes, so because in 2 weeks is Christmas Day here stateside. It's well, I don't know. Do you guys have Boxing Day in Australia?
Yeah.
Or is it just, okay, so yeah, here in the United States, it's just the day after Christmas. It's when you go back to the store to do all the returns to the gifts you didn't like. So. But either way, we will be taking that week off. We will be enjoying our end of year, Christmas, holiday, New Year's, that sort of thing. So we'll be back in 4 weeks at the beginning of January 2025. And so stay tuned for that. Be sure to subscribe and like and get all the notifications and do all the things, hit all the buttons on the channel so that you don't miss the next episode. But what are we going to talk about for next year, our next episode?
Our next episode, which will be on Thursday, the 9th of January in Australia and the 8th in the States, we're going to be talking about AI and just, what people, because there's so much discussion about this. And I've learned so much about AI from Collean. And at times she sent me an email and said, hey, check this out. And I'll go and have a look. And sometimes it's like, and sometimes it's like, oh my God, this is amazing. I went way down the rabbit hole with something she sent to me recently. And we were looking at the applications of this, the negative and positive and all of that. And we thought, hey, let's have a conversation about this and see what all you guys think. So if you have any questions or any areas within this topic that you would like to know more about, feel free to reach out to us and we will include it in our next podcast.
Yes, I'm really excited to be talking about AI and its applications. I'd like to keep it somewhat personal because it is, like money and spirituality, it is a topic that we could be very broad ranging and talk for hours and hours and hours about. So yeah, like, are you anti AI? Are you pro AI? Do you not even care? Have you used it? Do you use it for things other than healing? Do you think that healing is inherently human? Are there domains that AI you feel shouldn't touch? Those are just some ideas to go on.
Let me just throw something into the mix here.
Ooh.
I spoke to a girl the other day who does tarot readings with AI, and I'm like, what? Yeah. So stay tuned for that. I will share about it in a month's time.
Oh, now I don't want to wait a whole month. Well, luckily I can talk to Keryn in the green room. But for everybody else, make sure you tune in for our next episode in a few weeks. In the meantime, everybody have a safe and blessed holiday at the end of the year, whatever you celebrate or don't celebrate. We're so glad that you're here. Thank you so much for watching. And Keryn, is there anything else you wanna wish before we wrap this up?
Happy holidays. Thanks for joining us this year. We look forward to seeing you in 2025.
All right. Thanks so much, everybody. Take care.